Now these are the rules then. What you have offered the children is a context for the curriculum work that is not doing it for the teacher. It is an artificially induced context. In order to keep that context central, you have to expand your signing systems. That is, you start looking at what is significantly available and how do I play down that which I don't need. You can't constantly have, the school rebuilt, refurbished, everything altered, and you have no lights, equipment or anything like that in this case. You are trying, because of the context, to avoid where you can the teacher type talk that takes the power. You are not stopping teaching. I would like you to be really clear on this. Now these things, if you do that, an artificially made context, using sign to purpose, and avoiding teacher type talk because the context is what drives, these things naturally arise. Now here time is constantly invoked. Sometimes it's invoked because you're in role, and it has to be now here. When you are in the context and you are running the firm, it's still now time. Oh, by the way, they want us to do such and such. Or I said, look, you'll have to give us a breather. We just need time to finish some work. You're starting too many projects. You want us to have everything yesterday. So I said, listen, we can't do all that till we're finished with this. You're giving them a chance to put a line under something and say, this we have sorted out. Later it'll have to go into the final wind tunnel business and so on. It offers, no, you have now here time and you have the frame shift. Now, the frame shift in the case of Mr. Evans is, we are demonstrating to you, do you remember the triangle? We are giving you a demonstration of our thinking. So Mr. Evans is demonstrating back how he's receiving it. They may also be briefing Mr. Evans. They may move from a demonstration to a briefing, because you might feel this is the way Mr. Evans can move them on. Right, I'll take these back to my committee. In the meantime, what do you see is the next stage I should do? At that point, you see, they start briefing you. Well, Mr. Evans, this is what we'll need. We're going to have to visit the site. We're going to have to do this. Now, if you want it to move from demonstration to briefing, as a teacher you can negotiate it beforehand. You can say, by the way, while he's here, don't let's forget, we're going to have to, find out more about how far they've got on with their work. I mean, we might need to visit the site. I don't know about you, but I don't believe in measurements till I measured them myself. At that point, you see, you've laid it in advance that Evans will be asked to give them a briefing of what he intends. So, you enter this affective zone, back to that double brain thing again. But the affective zone is there to stimulate the cognitive. Right. It's for the curriculum of the learning. It also frees you from antiseptic talk. You can't be antiseptic if you're building up Evans's visit. You can't be antiseptic if you're saying, in the real world, we've never worked out that holiday rota because these kids can't read a calendar. So I'm going to have a holiday rota worked out, and they're going to read the calendar and they're going to know which months are 31, 30 and 28. Because you'll have to be able to read a calendar to work out a holiday rota. You might decide, for example, Mr. Evans is a bit unfamiliar with some of these words we're using, like typhoon and hurricane. He's never heard of them coming into England much, and would it be suitable? Compiling him a dictionary of terms for winds might be one of the important things, but it's the teacher in you that uses the role to make the context so they do the job. They can see it's got a purpose. The purpose is not, you know, I mean, if a mother says, "What did you do in school today, dear?" It's easy to say, "Well, we met a guy called Mr. Evans and he was on about such and such." You're more likely to get an answer than, "Oh, not much." Because it's been a part of a highlight of work, or I finished a diorama, or whatever it might be.
So it's septic because it's connected to other things.
That's
it's connected to Mr.
Yes.
Evans.
And of course I haven't got a better word than septic for the opposite of antiseptic. So much talk is antiseptic in the classroom in that it's been removed from a true purpose. That's what I mean by antiseptic. You know, we're doing the Tudors. That's what I call antiseptic. I call that antiseptic, doing the Tudors. Well, what does it mean? It's nowhere near any place. At least it isn't to me. Everything has an immediate task focus. There's something to be done because of this. We're getting ready for Mr. Evans. We're getting Mr. Evans ready. We're presenting him with our work. We are actually going away to rethink how best to show him pollution. Or in this case, it happens to be Mr. Evans. Now, it permits this high focus and close attention to detail. Mr. Evans can, in an inviting way, in this case Mr. Evans, in an inviting way get them to say it again because he's asked a different question. And he can foreshadow and promise, like, "Oh, this is going to look so exciting in the pavilion. I wonder if we could do some sort of leaflets that people could take away with them to remind them of this." Mr. Evans is foreshadowing. It's how the real world works. If I walk into mother care, it does assume I've either got somebody going to be a mother. It's not going to be me now, but, you know, there's a foreshadowing of an event somehow. Why am I buying one? Whatever it might be I'm buying. And so it permits this very high focus and close learning. And of course, by being in role, whether you are the manager, the colleague manager, or Mr. Evans, it controls parameters and drift. Mr. Evans hasn't come all the way from Cardiff to discuss bunions, unless they're relevant. And he doesn't have to be bothered listening to whether you like Jimmy Jones who sits next to you. Because as Mr. Evans, he has time calling him. And so on, you see. So you get a lot of drift and aimless work in projects. Where children are drifting about, nosying through books. They haven't got that high framing focus that guy's coming this afternoon and I've got to get a picture of a tree so that I can explain to him what I want. And also all responses become useful and usable, but you can productively challenge them. I'm afraid I didn't come all the way from Cardiff to be told something that really I don't see much relevance in. Perhaps I'm misunderstanding you. And often they hear their flippant ideas turned into good gold. You know, a throwaway line, you can choose to ignore it as teachers do, or you can pick it up. I didn't quite catch what you said. And as Mr. Evans, you can insist. Well, maybe I was misunderstanding, but I got the feeling there that this firm is not so serious as we'd thought. And, you know, it takes courage to do that. But you can productively challenge. The role models appropriate vocabulary. It feeds information in the context. It invokes productive tension when you want it. And it invites suitable language and linguistic forms. You don't talk to Mr. Evans like you'd talk to the cleaner or the guard. Not because you are denigrating one or the other. It's to do with In social circumstances like this is the tone that we'll need. You see. And again, people may feel, oh, well, you know, it's all too nitty-gritty, but it isn't. Now, finally, the role enables you to start a circumstance in which children get attracted. It's very attractive to have the power to tell you whether you come by train or not. It then allows you to develop a bit of interest after this attraction. What will Mr. Evans say when he first comes in? That interest may lead to involvement. We've been through this before. Involvement can breed concern, concern can breed absorption, and finally it can breed productive obsession. But it's won patiently. And above all, it shares power, and it wins responsibility. And I don't know whether you still feel comfortable. It seems such a boring question, but it would to me be desperately important that you are comfortable enough with it to give it a try. To just give it a try. Because you're embarking on a journey that will change you utterly. It will change how you collect material, it will change how you look at children, it will change how you see learning. And though you may be tired, you'll never be weary.